Greetings and welcome to Not All There, Sober Soiree Edition. I am Chad. I am your host. This is my podcast, and thank you very much for stopping by. I'm really excited to share this story with you. It's from my good friend Melissa. We've known each other for several years now, and she's just she's awesome. When the idea came together to host the first Sober Soiree, she was the first person I thought about to have tell her story. And she said yes, and she did not disappoint. You're just going to have to listen because there's nothing that I can say that's going to prepare you for what you're about to hear. She's great. You are going to be a different person after you listen to this. And just a reminder that July is the fundraising month for the podcast and for the Sober Soiree events. I'm raising money to continue the podcast, to keep pushing it out there, to continue to get the reach farther and farther and farther. We have a small international audience, which is fantastic, but we'd like to grow that as well. And the Sober Soirees are really important. They're a great community building event. You know, people show up there that are in recovery or not in recovery, and they hear stories that make them think, that make them ask questions, that is the base. That is the start of a building of a community of support. And it's really important, no matter what you're overcoming or no matter what you're recovering from, the community and the people that can relate and understand, it's super important. It's honestly, for me, at least, it's the most important part of my recovery is having the community of people who are peers in recovery or people who are supporters of those who are in recovery, whether they have a coworker, a friend, or a loved one who is in the same boat that I and so many millions of others are. So you can find the link for the GoFundMe for the podcast and the Sober Soiree in the show notes. Also, we are rolling out our nonprofit, the Art of Recovery Foundation. It's really exciting what we have lined up to do and to accomplish through the foundation and through your generous donations. They are tax deductible. You can make a donation through the link that is provided in the show notes. And for more details about what we are working on and the mission of the foundation, you can go to the website artofrecoveryfoundation.org. artofrecoveryfoundation.org. Thank you so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. We're doing good work. We really are. And we need to be pushing the messages out and the stories out to as many people as we can. And I'm doing what I can. And right now I do need your help and support to get these messages out there. Okay, enough of that. I'm going to step aside, and you are now going to listen to my dear friend, Melissa. I would like to welcome to the microphone Miss Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa, and I'm so excited to be here. Yeah. And I'm so excited that Chad said that this was a dress rehearsal because I haven't practiced and I don't really know what's going to happen. It's the best part. And this is really nice because usually I'm used to speaking to people who are in recovery, and maybe you are or maybe you aren't, and that's really exciting. I think it's cool that we have this venue where people can come together, and I have people in my life who are here who are really normal. And then I have others who aren't as much. And it's cool to have everyone in one place. And it's cool that they showed up and that you've shown up. And such a big part of my recovery is about showing up. I think that that's one of the main reasons that I'm sober today is that I was taught to show up for others and that others showed up for me. And so when Chad asks us to do something like this, we say yes, absolutely yes. It took me a little while to say yes, like my text, it took a minute, but I did come around to saying yes. And so I say yes to showing up to things, and things are always presenting themselves. And this week I had the opportunity to show up to something. My godmother's daughter's dog had a second birthday party. And that sounds like a lie. But in sobriety, we're taught to be honest. And I'm being honest. I went to that. And it was wonderful. But I was late. And I needed to go and get there quickly, and like she lives not that far from me, and what's a dog party without bringing your dog? So I was bringing mine, and I was in this like sweatsuit, but it was also really hot outside, and so we walked really fast, me and the dog, to get over there, and I got to the apartment, and I got in the elevator, and we went up, and I was sweating, like my hair was back, I didn't look very good, and the doors open, and this delivery man was standing there, and he quite literally dropped his package, and he said, "Oh my God, you're that famous actress." And I was like, no, like I'm definitely not. It's not me. I'm not a famous actress, but who might it be? Is she really beautiful and talented? But he was like, no, like she's in every movie and film. And I was like, yeah, like which ones? And trying to get that from him. And he was like, she's blonde. I'm like, I'm glad we're narrowing it down. And so we weren't really figuring it out. And then he was like, I was like, well, I'm going to go see my family right now. Would you like to come to the door with me? And I'll let you know that they'll let you know I'm not famous. And so we got to the door, and my godmother's daughter opened the door, and I said, tell him I'm not famous. And he's like, I know she's famous. Isn't she famous? And my godmother's daughter said, she's so famous. And so we took a picture together. And unlike me, she wasn't that honest, but she's not alcoholic, so she like is able to maybe have a lie here and there, and it doesn't ruin her life. And so then what happened was this picture was taken, and this man has now probably spent the rest of the weekend showing off my picture to people, and they're like, oh, that's not a famous person, which is pretty funny to think about. But when I was younger, I really wanted to be a famous actress. I wanted to be on stage, and I wanted to really be a Broadway star. But I have no musical talent, so it's very hard to be a Broadway star. But I am like up here right now with this microphone, and there's a camera. And so if I seem nervous tonight, it's likely because all of my dreams are coming true this week. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. Yeah, when I was younger, I said I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be all these things, but I definitely didn't say that I wanted to be alcoholic. And I don't think that's really how it works for anybody. My parents are here tonight, which is so special and so sweet. They are not alcoholic, and they have nothing to do with my alcoholism, actually, but they have so much to do with my sobriety, and that's pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, from the time I was a little girl, I thought that the world was pretty tough, and I had no reason to think so. I had like a lot of emotions, and I felt like I didn't really get the handbook for life. We moved around a lot when I was younger, and when I got to Chicago, I was in like the second grade, and it was like in the middle of a snowstorm, and I took the bus, and I didn't have any friends, and so I would sit down on the bus, and I would buckle myself in, and then I would also buckle in the seat next to me for God. Yeah, and isn't that special? It's actually really hard to make friends when you do something like that, and it helped me feel a little less alone on the bus, but it's like social suicide to buckle yourself in on the bus. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I always had this desire to have a relationship with something bigger than me, right? And nobody ever did anything to make me feel lonely. And no one ever did anything. I didn't have like some traumatic story that made me feel like I wasn't good enough, right? But I believe that is my alcoholism today. Yeah, because like I had all the support in the world and all the love in the world, but one of the reasons that I drank was that I no longer felt those things. I have a really loud head. My head is like the meanest place that you could possibly be, and I think that if you're alcoholic or you suffer from addiction or maybe other mental disorders, you know what it feels like to have a head that is just so loud. Like for instance, like what my head sounds like on a pretty much like daily basis. Well, I don't want to make you feel bad for me or anything, but like I'll make coffee, and if I spill it, I'm like, oh my God, I spilled the coffee. But then like my next thought is like, you idiot, you spilled the coffee. And then it's like, you're not a really good person. You have like maybe you're like a bad sister. Your parents hate you and like nobody likes you. You should die. And so that's a pretty crazy jump to make when you just spilled coffee. And that's kind of what my brain does. And what recovery has taught me is like how I can kind of get in there and like stop it, or I can kind of just be like, oh, I don't need to pay attention to that. But what happened for me was that like at a very young age, I knew this about myself and I wanted to quiet those voices. And it was so exciting when I found alcohol, because for me, that was a thing that made that stuff just turn off and I could feel okay. My first drink was when I was pretty young, and it was at my grandmother's funeral. So when I was really young, my grandmother passed away, and it was like the first time, I don't think my mom knows this or my dad, but it was like the first time in my life that that somebody had like passed away, and it felt pretty like dark and hard. And I didn't really know what that meant. And so we went to Cincinnati, Ohio, because that's where the funeral was. And we got to Cincinnati, and all these people were crying, like who were adults in my life. And I didn't really like that. And I don't know that I ever was really crying because my grandmother was dead. I don't know. I think I was just mostly crying because like these adults were. And what happened was we had this funeral and all these people were really upset. And then an hour later, we were having a celebration of life, and there were all these people who were like crying at the funeral, but now having a really good time. And I'm not dumb, but what I noticed was that a lot of them are holding drinks in their hand. And so I could drink a little bit from everybody's drink, and suddenly I felt okay too. And that's not a normal relationship to have with alcohol. That wasn't something that was taught to me. That was something that was going to happen for me no matter what at some point. And I'm so grateful that I found alcohol, because I do think it's because of alcohol that I was able to find the things and have the things in my life today that I do. But I wasn't going to last in the world, I think, very long without it. In high school, I did things like be captain of the swim team while also blacking out, right? Or I was a part of a group of people called Students Against Destructive Decisions, SAD. We had polos. Kathleen had a polo too. It said SAD on it, SADD, which is similar to Mothers Against Drunk Driving. That's messed up. Like I was in this club, and then on the weekends I was blacking out, right? And I'm a blackout drinker, and what that means is that once I start drinking, I can't stop, and I black out, not because I want to, it's just what happens. And I didn't know that that wasn't the experience that everybody was having. What happens with me, at least in my experience, was that I did not know how to control this thing inside of me that made me want to drink all the time and made me feel so alone and made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And I had all the resources in the world, and I had all this love around me and all these people, but I did everything I could to mask what I was doing because I was too afraid of showing them this part of me, because I didn't know that it was alcoholism. I didn't know what it was. I think that's so important, why we have like a venue like this, or we're all coming together to talk about these things, because I just thought something was so wrong with me that I wasn't ever going to be able to figure out. My experience was that I got to meet people, and I credit so much of my sobriety to a 12-step program, and it was through that I met people that said, I have this thing too. I have alcoholism. I have addiction. And I'm so glad you're here, because we have a solution for you, that you never have to drink again, but more importantly, that you will never feel that loneliness again that you have described. And my experience has been that through meeting people in recovery and through the program that I work, I have been able to move through life sober, which is incredible. Like, we can do anything sober. And when I first got sober, I got sober, what ends up happening when you have alcoholism, I think, is that like all these people in your life really want to help you, and it's hard to like be living at your parents' house and being so young and like people not figuring out, oh my goodness, like she needs help. And so my parents sent me to a therapist, and I got to the therapist, and that day I decided to wear the most beautiful outfit you've ever seen. Like, you know that man who thought I was a celebrity earlier? Like, I looked like the celebrity when I went to the therapist's office. I looked gorgeous. And I thought that if I went and I showed him that I looked this way, that he would have been like, I don't know why you're here. You can go now. But I got there and I was in this dress, and he was... And I'm a therapist today, and I'm not saying we should necessarily comment on what people are wearing, but this man like looked at me and he was like, what are you wearing? And so this man saw right through me, and thank God he did, because it's kind of the first time that like someone kind of saw that like all these like facades that I put up and all these things that I was trying to do was really just not like real. And he told me that I can try some controlled drinking or I won't be able to, and that that was kind of be the experience. So I think that people, you know, have different experiences with alcohol and drugs. I think that some people can drink and drug and something bad can happen and they can change their relationship with it. That's just not my experience. My experience is that no matter how much I want to stop drinking, no matter how many people want me to stop drinking, I will drink. Without a new solution in my life and without recovery and without sobriety, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm so grateful for all of you. So my story continues, and it really wasn't until I was probably, I think it was the end of my senior year, and I was 18 years old, and I decided that I was going to keep drinking, and that my parents, you know, and nobody really knew what they were talking about. So like alcoholism is kind of crazy because it'll like convince you that something isn't so wrong with you. And I ended up going to a concert and injuring somebody, and then like that being this huge experience with hurting so many people in my life. And then past that, I continued to drink. And so that was such a wake-up call for me that like, no matter what was happening in my life, I couldn't stop. And so my parents did the most beautiful thing they could have ever done. And they told me that I needed to go to treatment. And that's where I went. And I went there, and I kind of did the same thing that I did in high school. And I became unit leader of the girls' unit, which is pretty impressive. And I did that because I wanted to put it on my resume, and I kind of thought if I do rehab perfectly, then I'll just go straight to college. And what's interesting is I'm a therapist today, and again, like I don't know how else to put it other than they saw right through me. And they said, we really need you to do more treatment. And that is exactly what happened. And I ended up going to Houston, Texas. And that's where I got involved with like communities of people who made me feel like I was not so alone. And it's because of all of you that I get to have the life that I have today. And it's because all of you that I get to go through difficult things today and not feel like I have to pick up a drink. Addiction's kind of crazy. Like it is something that is so much bigger than just drinking or doing drugs. I mean, it is something that for me was about finding community, and it was about not feeling so alone, and how I get through like the day to day of life. Everything good in my life today is the result of recovery, and anything difficult I'm able to move through because of recovery. My hope is that tonight you hear something that either resonates with you or somebody else, or maybe you just got lost and you ended up in here, and I'm just glad you're here. This has been really cool, and I think I've spoken too long, so I will stop now. But thanks for showing up for me, and I'm glad to be here for you. All right.
Man, I love Melissa. I really dig her, man. She has so much wisdom and such a talent and a gift for getting that message out there for you to really understand it, really feel it, and quite honestly have some good laughs about it. She's one of the funniest people I know, man. She's like she's like a ninja. She comes in and she gets you laughing even before you know what hit you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to step aside. It is a late night here. It is it is 10:45, and for a 50-year-old man, that's fucking late. And remember, please, any contribution that you can make would be very, very grateful. I'd be very, very grateful for that. We have the link for the GoFundMe for the podcast and the Sober Soirees in the show notes, as well as a link to a donation page for the Art of Recovery Foundation. If you need to reach out to me for anything, you can contact me rather, at chad@soberchad.com. That's chad@soberchad.com. All right. Be kind and loving to yourself. Be kind and loving to others. Make sure you give yourself that big hug because you deserve it. Take a deep breath. Take many deep breaths. Be grateful. Be grateful. Okay. All right. You take care of yourself. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.